Martin McGuinness is in our Foyle studio and the DUP Simon Hamilton is with me here. Martin McGuinness, do you give any credit to the likes of Drew Nelson for how they've shifted things within the Orange Order?
Well, I think there is no doubt whatsoever that as a result of the political situation in the course of recent years, and the political situation has effectively been transformed, we are living in a much more peaceful environment, and I think that the political process that we're part of has overwhelming support from within the broad community, from unionists, from loyalists, from nationalists and from Republicans.
But do you not see any seeds of progress from your point of view within the Order?
Well, I think what has to happen is that the Orange Order has to show leadership. And we are only in the very fortunate position that we find ourselves today within the political and peace process because many people from the broad community, from within unions, political parties, Republican community, and with the support of the Irish government, the British government and the United States government, effectively came together to build a better future for the people that live on this island. But one of the organisations that has yet to show the type of leadership that has been shown by all of those other groups that I've mentioned is the Orange Order. And I think that the Orange Order has to recognise that they have to make their contribution. And I would like to see them make their contribution, and I think that that can be best made by recognising the need to respect the Catholic Nationalist Republican electorate, by sitting down with their elected representatives, by sitting down with communities to find a way forward. But
do you accept also that it's hard for them to take lectures from you? Drew Nelson there referred to 270-odd people, members of the Orange Order, who were killed by the IRA during the Troubles. I mean, you made your speech and your criticism of the Orange Order at the Wolfe Tone commemoration. And if I could quote you something that Wolfe Tone said, in his trial, he said that he was ready for a fair and open war. And if that has degenerated into a system of assassination, massacre and plunder, I do again most sincerely lament it. There are many who will see what the IRA did in recent years as that, assassination, murder and plunder.
Well, I mean, that begs me to come back about the activities of the British Army and the RUC and the B Specials and the RAR and the UDR, but I'm not going to do that. We're in a wholly new situation.
But in the spirit of Wolfe Tone, would it not be acceptable for you to lament and indeed condemn some, at least, of what the IRA did?
Well, I'm not going to be selective in my approach to all of it. The conflict that we've been through for 30 or 35 years was a very unfortunate conflict, and many people within the broad nationalist Republican community would apportion the responsibility for most of that on the failure of previous generations of unionist politicians and indeed British government politicians who failed to live up to the fact or face up to the fact that nationalists and Republicans and Catholics were condemned to live in what was, in the words of a leading Orange man and a member of the Unionist government, a Protestant parliament for a Protestant people. But those days are gone. I mean, Michael Farrell wrote a very important book called The Orange State. The Orange State is gone. We now live in a state where there are people who are Irish, who are proud to be Irish, people who want to live at peace with their Unionist and Orange neighbours.
Okay, well,
and what we have to do, Jim, is recognise that at the heart of resolving these difficulties is a willingness to sit down with meaningful dialogue to solve the problems. And we here in the Derry area did that with the apprentice boys with much considerable success. What we have failed to see is leadership from the leadership of the Orange Order and recognising the need to meet us halfway.
Well, Simon Hamilton, the Grand Master of the Orange Order, has now said that he has no problem with the Portadown Orangemen meeting the Garvaghy Road residents. Indeed, the First Minister has said that he thinks it could happen. Should it happen? Should it happen soon?
Well, yes, I think it should. I mean, this is a problem that, as the film showed, has been in existence for over 10 years, and we're not afraid of afraid of problems. We want to face problems down and sort them out. And I don't recognise a criticism that the Orange Order isn't showing leadership. I believe that the Orange Order is showing great positive steps forward. Within Northern Ireland, we're going to see tomorrow record numbers of people come out to celebrate the 12th demonstration. We're going to see, and then there's an increasing recognition of the positive contribution that Orangeism can make to tourism, to the economy.
Has it given up on some parades and contentious issues? Drew Nelson seemed to suggest that was the case.
Well, I think with the fact that there are now only a very, very few, a handful of parades that are contentious at all, would show that there has been some recognition of that sort of from within the Orange Order. And it's now time to get a hold of these small remaining problems and get them sorted out.
Should the order go one step further, though, and maybe accept a principle of negotiation?
Well, what I think that the Orange Men in Portadown are doing is very, very positive. The First Minister is very pleased to get involved and to try to sort this problem out and show leadership. This is something that is affecting everybody in Northern Ireland. There's been real efforts are now being put in to try to get this problem sorted out. And I think we need to recognise it, and that this initiative is actually coming principally from the Orange Men. So when we hear the rhetoric of the past going back 200 years or longer from Martin McGuinness, that's not a recognition of what's actually going on the ground today. What we want to see from Republicans is that sort of leadership that Portadown Orange Men, that the First Minister is showing. We want to see that reciprocated. We want to see that taken forward. We want to see the parading issue sorted out, and we want to share that. And looking forward to a better and a brighter Northern Ireland, we want to see shared space within our towns and villages.
Who's holding up the publication of the Ashdown review?
Well, we want to see that report come forward as quickly as possible. Whatever reasons are holding it up, I think are unacceptable. We want to get that sorted out. Nothing less than the abolition of the Parades Commission will suffice in that. And we want to see that brought forward because I think there are positives within that could actually help resolve this problem into the future. OK,
Martin McGuinness, I mean, you are the Deputy First Minister. This report is sitting on your desk jointly with Peter Robinson. Are you criticising the Orange Order as a smokescreen for your own failure? And is this symptomatic of a breakdown in relationships between you and Peter Robinson?
Well, I mean, let's hit the nail on the head here. We have a situation where the Grand Master of the Orange Order and the Grand Lodge of Ireland, as they describe themselves, have stated quite clearly that they're not prepared to meet with the leadership of Sinn Féin or with nationalist communities. So the dialogue that has taken place, or hopefully will take place, in the course of the coming weeks between the Orange Men in Portadown and the representatives of the Girvahy Road Residents Association does need to be replicated on a grander scale, and really there's no point whatsoever coming in the month of July and really seeking talks, expecting a breakthrough at what is probably the most difficult time of the year. What we need to see is when the orange parades are over, is immediately people sitting down and having real and meaningful dialogue with a view to resolve, and as Simon Hamilton has correctly said, the very tiny number now of contentious parades. I spent last Friday afternoon in Northampton. I visited both Rasharkin and Ahoghill, and Rasharkin is a 90% nationalist village, and in a few weeks' time something like 40 orange bands will parade through that village. I wouldn't even dream of suggesting that 40 nationalist or Republican bands would attempt to march through the town of Ahoghill. And these are the sort of issues that we need to get to grips with. But I think the main point to be said, given that we are just in advance of the parades, is that it is very important to appeal to the entire community to recognise the need for common sense to prevail over the course of the next number of days, for people to keep the peace and to recognise that they have a duty and a responsibility to use their influence to bring to an end the attacks on Catholic churches, the attacks on Orange Halls, and the attacks on the rights and cultures and religion of citizens within society.
You're talking about dialogue. What specifically is the situation in dialogue between yourself and Peter Robinson? There are suggestions that you're not even talking to each other at the moment.
No, we are talking to each other, and I have had very forthright discussions with Peter Robinson about what I think we need to do. I was very interested in the aftermath of the European elections to hear people articulate a view that there were mixed messages coming from the DUP on one hand in government, and on the other hand declaring their intention to smash Sinn Féin.
Have you seen evidence of those mixed intentions?
Well, I think that Peter Robinson said in the aftermath of the election that he recognised that Sinn Féin had communicated with our base over the course of many years, and that had been a successful strategy for Sinn Féin, and that they had failed to do the same. So I hope that the elections are now over. There is a responsibility to recognise that overwhelmingly in those elections, some 84% of the electorate voted for parties who want to make the process work.
OK, Martin McGuinness, many thanks indeed. Simon Hamilton, thank you too.